Welcome back to this, our fourth and final flying bird tutorial. Professor Phil Snyder here. Let's take a look at this. This is where we left off. We are fully rigged, and then again, it's a very basic rig, and there's no automatic stuff set up, no inverse kinematics, no forward kinematics, and no constraints or anything like that. Just real basic. If you want to get into more depth in rigging, there are lots of resources available in your textbook as well as online. Lynda.com has some on that. Again, we're just going to keep this really simple for time's sake. So let's go forward. In my final export, which you'll see later, I have it flying over a background. It's composited over that background, and then I have the background animated to follow it as if there's a camera following it. In fact, let's take a look at that now in Premiere. Frankly, this is something I did last fall, not specifically for this video tutorial, but you can see I've got a still of the background. It might be better to find some video that's a static shot of a background. You can use any background you want, but the key here is to make the background move and scale along with the movement of the bird to make it believable. So let's take a look. You can see these are individual frames down here on video 3, and then we have the background, and then I have an alternate background here. So if we turn this off, then we can see the alternate background. He's flying around in a forest. And in this one, in fact, I'll just play that real time. So he gets up and he flies this way, and then the camera follows him flying off. Now, part of the key here is to have a background that is high enough resolution, that's big enough so that you have room to move it and it doesn't go off the screen and have a letterbox or a black background showing. Alright, so let's go ahead and animate. Make sure you're on the first frame, and we're going to do it in 240 frames. That's 8 seconds at 24 frames per second. Make sure that your auto keyframe is set on. And we're going to do a little trick here where we select and then shift select the other shoulder. And we're in the rotate tool. And when we rotate one, since they're both selected, Maya has this little trick where it mirrors the movement of the opposite one. And that way we can keyframe both of them at the same time and have them matched in movement. Very important here to save quite a few steps. So let's start down, and we're going to have it flap twice, 2 full cycles every second. So let's zoom in on this a little bit first. Let's go to frame 6 now, and let's rotate them up. And then so you see we have 1/2 cycle. And now we can just copy and paste those keyframes. So select the first one, hold down the shift key, click and drag, and selecting up to the 6th frame, right click on that, copy, and then go down to frame 11 and paste. And that gives us the full cycle there. Up, down, up. Okay, and let's do that same thing again. Click and shift, drag, right click, copy, and then let's go to frame 20 and paste. Let's go to frame 21 and paste. Let's do this again. Click, drag with the shift key, copy. Let's go to frame 41 and paste. And now let's just continue pasting all the way down the line. And we'll get close. We don't have to get it exactly the right number of frames. and keep going until we get to right about 240. In fact, let's just grab these last two and copy and paste. So let's play this. Make sure that you're going in real time. Right click, go to playback speed, make sure real time is checked, and let's play this. Good. Let's go into the perspective view and play it. Good. Let's animate the head and the tail to move, and we'll do it in the same way, only we're going to just have them move slightly, and they'll be moving in opposite directions to the wings to kind of counterbalance the movement. So you've got the neck, and then shift select the tail, go to first frame, and since we're down, we want the head and the tail to go up a little bit. So let's click and drag that up, and first frame S, and go to frame 6 and rotate them down a little bit, and let's just copy and paste those as we go along, and we'll try to match the movement of the wings. Right click, copy, and go to frame 11 and paste. So let's see how it looks so far. Alright, and copy, and frame 20, paste, and let's just copy these all one more time, and then frame 40 and paste. Let's see if they're still matching. So it's starting to get off a little bit. I want to move these 4 a couple frames down. Cut and paste. And let's select these. Right click, copy, and frame 80. Let me make sure that that's the next frame. Frame 80. Yep, it is. Okay. And paste. So that's looking pretty good. Let's just paste this all now. Then let's do the next paste here at 159. And that takes us just about to the end like we did before. Let's see how that's pretty close. And we'll just take these last 2 and that looks good. Alright, so let's play this back. Looks like there's a little delay there. That's down, and so let's bring this up. Got another little delay there. Let's bring it up. That works pretty well. Okay. Make sure and save on a regular basis. All right, one other animation that we want to do is of the legs when they're first starting out. So we'll be starting off with the knees. Let's select the left knee. And it's got a keyframe there. And then let's go down to about 6 frames. And let's just move it up a little bit, like he's squatting a little bit, anticipating moving up. And let's go to the side view. And we'll match that movement by taking him down. Since we don't have inverse kinematics, let's take him down a little bit further and make it more obvious. All right, let's take a look at that. So going down, let's look in the perspective view. Squatting. And then let's shift select those knees. Let's select just the first frame. Copy. And go to frame 10, paste, and they're both back to where they were. So he squats, anticipating, then goes up, and we're going to, at that point, start moving him up his whole body. So let's select the base, move tool. Let's go to frame 48, take him up. Give him 2 seconds to go up. And let's take a look at that. There we go. Let's take a look at our video here at about 1 second. So he looks slightly to his left and right, bobs a little bit, and then he retracts his landing gear at about 2 seconds in. So let's do that. Let's do the first knee, and we want to start that movement right about at 47 frames. Press S, and let's rotate tool, and let's retract those back at about frame 51. And we also want to do from the hip as well. So let's go to the hip at frame 47, add a keyframe, then at frame 51, let's rotate it all the way back. And let's do the same on the other side. At frame 47, let's do a keyframe. See, the problem is I want to make sure that the reason why we have to put a keyframe here at 47 is because if we don't establish the beginning of that movement, it's going to go clear back to frame 10 and make a very, very slow movement up to the retraction position. All right, and then at frame 51, let's retract it straight with the thigh, and now let's go up to the thigh, arrow up, frame 47, S, and frame 51, and retract all the way. Make sure that lines up pretty well. Good. All right, and so we've got that movement there. Let's animate the base again. And from frame 47, let's go to frame 55. Let's rotate him a little bit to screen right, like he's looking at us. And then a little bit to screen left. At frame 63. And then let's go up to frame 100. And let's move him screen left. And then let's go to frame 130. Rotate him down. And take him down a little bit. Bring him closer. A little bit on that way. A little bit on that way. There we go. And let's see what that does. And he's just kind of hovering there. Let's go to frame 155 and bring him up. Bring him much closer. Rotate him a little bit so he's looking at us. Frame 155, and let's also rotate him. So let's take a look at that. All right, and so from here on we're going to have him fly off, but we're going to have the camera follow him. Let's go to frame 240 and let's rotate him. And so he'll be making that slow rotation as he's flying off. But we're going to animate the camera now. Let's get the outliner. Go to Windows, Outliner, and now we can select whatever we want here. I want to increase the brightness of the area light that we had. Let's check. See how that looks. Actually, I don't really like how that area light's looking. Let's change the kind of light we're using to a directional light. I think that'll do a better job. Might be too bright now. Yeah, that's not too bad actually. Let's go in a little tighter. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I'll bring it down just to right an even 4. And take another look at it. That's good. Okay. All right, so now we need to animate the camera. Let's decide where we're going to start out. And if we have to readjust the animation at all, I think that looks actually pretty good. Let's go right about here, and again make sure we have the perspective camera selected. Press S. We're watching him take off, and he's coming forward to us. And if we want him a little closer, we can actually move the camera in. So let's decide where we want him to move a little closer. So that's where he starts coming towards us. So I want to be in tight on him at about 130 when he's down. So let's go up to about 100 at a frame 100. Press S. And then we're going to start dollying in on him at 130. And see how that looks. Then start zooming back a little bit as he goes up and out of frame so we don't lose him. And move him over towards center. Okay, let's look at that. And let's let him fly off from there, from 160 to 240. Let's zoom back and move him off screen. All right, so let's play that back. And I think he takes a little bit too long going off. So I want to lead him a little bit. Let's go back to frame 160 and let's just move him back to frame left a little bit and see how that looks. Yeah, so we're giving him some looking room before he goes flying off. Let's preview that. Good. All right, so let's go into our render settings. Make sure you're in Maya software. Under the Common tab, we want to change this to ping or PNG. You need to go to name.number.extension and start frame is 1, end frame is 240. And we have the perspective camera. And let's make this 1280 by 720. Looking good. And we won't do any shadows on this one because that's too hard to fake. All right, quality wise, let's go to high quality. So again, we won't do any ray tracing on this unless you want to try to get a lot more complex with the shadowing. And let's go to the rendering menu and render, batch render. And we watch the progress down here in the status bar. Now you don't have to have yours exactly like mine. Mine is just a guideline, but try to make it believable. Then we'll be taking all these frames and importing them into Premiere and doing our editing. So when you do that, make sure that you have these frames set to be imported at 1 frame in length, because the default is, I think, 1 second or as long as 5 seconds, and it'll mess you up. So if you do make a mistake and import them at the longer length, then you need to delete them out of the project window, reset your preferences, timeline, and make sure that the still image duration is 1 frame, and then re-import them. And then again, this is pretty much what it should look like. If you want to create your own background, that's fine. If you can find some video footage to composite it over that, like this, maybe has the waves actually moving, that's good. Or some other action behind it, maybe a city street or a park, that's fine too. So thank you for working with me through these tutorials, and I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you had a lot of fun too and feel glad that you did.